Sorry, I just felt like practicing being a goldfish surrounded by all this glass. Hey everybody, Josh the RV Nerd here at Bish's RV, outside of the new fish tank over here that apparently Cherokee Grey Wolf is putting out. This is a small, but I think really high impact update they've put on their 20 RDSE right here behind us. The layout hasn't really changed, but they have just slathered the back end of this thing with all the window coverage they possibly can. So especially sites where like you back in overlooking a lake, this little thing would be absolutely awesome right here. It's also a simple, easy, lighter weight, less expensive, no slide kind of camper, but all of the window coverage, once you get into the actual living area and sit down, makes it look and feel not so little. Now, there's little key details that are easy to miss, like they have improved their solar package as compared to last year, which they improved from the year before, so they're finally getting some pretty respectable battery tending capacity on this. They still have a backup camera built right on here from the factory standard. It's amazing how many expensive RVs prep for that, and they include it. They also still have the bigger vent fan in the bathroom, so you have the proper Fajita Friday fume ventilation. The cargo rack has remained on the back, but they've kind of just touched up the whole interior decor a little bit, and I'm really liking the way that this thing is looking right here. It's carpetless, it's ventless, it's easy cleaning. You do not need a Gravedigger Bigfoot monster machine to haul this sucker around. It's something where if you have a more modest tow vehicle, it works great, and it's no slides. It's simple. It's easy. There's less to take care of. And yeah, that means that it's a little bit tighter in places like the bathroom or whatnot. But for some folks, that juice is definitely worth the squeeze. I will say it is a short queen bed in the front bedroom. I do think there's room for a true queen in there. But every RV has its ups, downs, and in-betweens. And that's the kind of information I want to give you today. If you've never seen this model, what does it offer you, and maybe what things will you not potentially like? And if you appreciate that kind of candid approach, hit that subscribe button and let's get started. But first of all, you'll be happy to know I just marked myself safe on Facebook from frostbite. It's freaking toasty in here, dude. And on that note, although I don't have it running, one of the really excellent qualities of this camper is the fact that it actually does have centrally ducted air. A lot of builders in a more price-sensitive class with a no-slide model like this, where it doesn't have, like, say, a dedicated private bedroom, you often won't get things like central air, so that's actually a very important feature to touch on. And while we were pointing at the floor, you might have noticed how pet-friendly this camper is. It has no slides, it has no carpet, it has no vents in the floor. So it is just very easy to keep and maintain. Now, there were a couple years there, Cherokee was doing it wasn't black, but man, it was close kind of cabinet coloration. And they went to this lighter palette. Well, they richened it up a little more this year. And last year, they had this weird wire mesh insert on the cabinet doors, and you could see through the stuff, and good lord, I can't even imagine how hard it was to clean those things. So they went with, what is this, what's this called when you have, is it fluted? Is that the word, where it's a fluted glass insert? So theoretically, can you kind of see through it a little bit, but not really. And I tell you what, manufacturers are finally starting to realize people like windows, especially on the camp side of the RV. Like, I'm gonna rotate you left, guys, so that you know what's going on. You're not going to get motion sick. I'm sitting on the foot of the bed currently, and the entire campsite of the RV is windows. Now, if it sounds like I'm struggling right there, I really had to engage my chubby core to do the lean back and then lean back forward. And I don't know if you've noticed, I'm not a guy that lives on doing sit-ups. I never subscribe to the 8-minute abs thing. I subscribe more to give me an 8 count of ribs. But, that's why you can't see my ribs. Now, I want to point something out back here. This is what I call a true U-dinette. So you might notice how there's a little stand off to the right where there's that little thing that says, "Thank you for making us the #1 selling trailer out there." Cherokee has been a very popular brand for a while now. So there's a little stand back there. Great little place to, set drinks for some reason. You're like, why would you want to set drinks when you have a table right here? Well, here's the thing. One of the cool things about this camper is you don't necessarily have to use it exclusively like a dinette. What if you're going to be in here for an extended period? What if you're just lounging, you're just chatting with friends, or you want to, kick your feet up and kind of stretch back a little bit and watch some TV. We'll see where the TV hookup is in just a second here. You could use it like something of a rear lounge. Now, I'm not saying this is an ideal solution, because a dinette, anybody who tries to tell you a dinette bench is as comfortable as a sofa, they're only out to get your money. That's it's just not. I don't feel the average person is going to feel that way. Now, I'm going to kind of point you down at the floor. I want to mention that again so I don't make you motion sick. And I try to move the camera slowly so I don't whip this sucker around. I also don't use fisheye wide-angle lenses. I want to show you this big open cavity right here because I think that, you know, against that cabinet side would be a perfect place for like a little clip to hold brooms or something like that. A little golf club holder to fend off the gas station murder hobos. What come a get you? You know, I think that you can use sometimes empty negative space in a very good way. What do you think, by the way, how they've dressed up their window treatments this year? Like, instead of that cardboard with crappy fabric wrap that's held together by staples and your imagination balance, they actually went with something built with, God forbid, a little bit of intent. I kind of like it. I kind of like, is it enclosed on the top? Oh, okay. I'm not saying it will help you in this application, but in theory, you know, you got a shelf up there. So if you wanted to put some kind of decorative knickknacks or something, you know, sometimes Forest River owners will frog each other in the same way that Jeep owners duck each other, you know? Maybe that's where you could keep your collection of frogs or something. So this RV doesn't actually include a TV, but it does include the TV bracket, although that bracket needs to get mounted, I think, a little bit lower, because if you try to put a TV on that and swing it closed, the TV is going to conflict with the cabinet. So that might need a little bit of adjustment. Then again, you bring it down too far, and then you're going to start fighting against your stovetop here. Either way, they at least include the bracket, and I guess we can work the details out later. And maybe the positioning is a little bit funny, because they like double, triple, quadrupled the size of this window over here overlooking your campsite. And that's what I love about this one. All these big windows open for airflow. The only window that doesn't open for airflow is the one in the entry door. Now, the entry door is prepped for a privacy shade, and you know, that could be a screen door. So that actually could be one of the biggest breeze elements over on the campsite of the RV. I would say this would make a decent spot for a trash can, but you're going to see in a minute, the RV already has a trash can integrated. So let me ask you, what would you put over here? Would this be shoe storage? Would this be the cat litter box or something? Like, what would you put over here? A little pet pad, the pet dishes or something like that? That'd be kind of, I'd love to know. I just like knowing how people move into this stuff sometimes, because it just helps me better understand how you use the RV. So it helps me better understand how to look at the RV. You know, help me help you, Jerry Maguire style. Now, I mentioned earlier how I was cooking in the sun. If you want to keep the sunshine out of this thing, that's where these bad boys come into play. You've got the blackout pleated shades, maybe not totally blackout, but anyway, you've got black pleated shades to help blot the sun out. Plus, the windows themselves have a little bit of a mirror tint. Now, again, it's a true Udinette, so that's like a 7-foot sleeper, but this thing also has like full 8-foot wide of storage going on below it. It has some serious storage galorage down there. Now, you might want to come up with like a tote solution to make that more easily accessible. It doesn't have a junk in the trunk storage door or anything like that, so that will be occasional use storage. That won't be everyday use storage that you want to get into, but at least it's there. You know, I'll take storage that's hard to get to over wasted space any day of the week. They have integrated the trash can, as you can see, but you might notice if you look at this, they have expanded their overhead cabinet space because they have deleted a propane oven below the propane stovetop. So we do still have propane cooking. It also has an outdoor propane quick connect, but down below the stovetop, what you actually have down there is a electric, like convection air fryer microwave oven. You do have somewhat, well, not somewhat, you have fairly limited counter space in this, being real. Now, it looks better than maybe it really is right now because I've got the stovetop covered down. I've got all the sink covers in place, but you start actually using all this and you've got just enough counter space over there for like a dish strainer. It's one of those things, you know, maybe this open space over here, one of the things that would be really handy is like a flip up counter extension or an extra little side table stand. Anything like that could be really, really handy. A couple of extra little details to mention. You do have a, basically your whole house battery disconnect is located right in here under that 12-volt fridge, and that is one of the larger 10 cubic foot varieties. A lot of manufacturers right now, they are all price fighting the living crap out of one another, and they're all trying to find a way to come up with the dollar cheapest RVs out there. So keep an eye on brands that used to use the 10 cubic foot fridges. They're going to start trying to slip to 8 cubic foot fridges and conveniently like fail to verbally talk about it, they might point it out in their sales brochure on a really small line. But, you know, there's different size 12-volt fridges out there. So, you know, it's not that there's anything wrong with an 8 cubic foot. I'm just letting you know what to expect. I'm teaching you how to fish, even if this isn't the right RV, even if, you know, we're not the correct dealer for you for whatever reason or another. I hope you just appreciate that information. Now, couple things. Factory bedspreads, usually I could just throw them away and throw them on the burn pile and feel fine with it. But I do like this little foot runner right here. Keeping your feet warm at night, that actually is a really nice way to help sleep better. And it is a short queen bed. It's a 60 by 74. So there's not a lot of room at the foot of the bed. You could put a true queen in it, but then you're definitely just climbing over it to get to bed. Now, remember we were talking about window treatments. They're trying to get away from, again, the crappy cardboard valances. And what they did up here is you're literally just looking at the window shade, but they just put a nice piece of finished off wood above it. And when you back up, I think the look is all right. I personally prefer the clean minimalist execution of that instead of the boxy valance style, but that's my nerdy 2 cents. That's just my opinion. Let me ask you, what do you think? What do you think of the new styling? What do you think of the new design? I'm kind of curious. Now, across basically all the Cherokee stick and tin travel trailer family, you might notice when you move up into the bedroom space, your cabinetry style actually changes. It's basically the same color, but the stylization has changed a touch. Basically, it's they're all one piece, kind of more of a flat style sort of door right here. Notice that you do again have that nice campside window. This is also an interesting object. It's a low power. I'll admit this, but a single point inverter right here. I think it's only like 150 watts, which that's not the most amazing kind of thing ever, but it does have some USB plugs on it, and depending on where you're camping, there might be some low power household objects you need to power at night. It is sometimes kind of nice to at least have some ability. Now that this RV has a 200 watt solar package. Last year it had 100 watt, this year it's 200 watts. You could scale it up to about 450 watts if you're so inclined, but that's all this is. I do appreciate though, they've maintained the use of household and USB plugs on both sides of the bed. And if we start cracking open all the bedroom storage here, you've got some pretty decent hanging closet space. I want to give them credit. Like, you're going to watch the cabinet door gravity drop in the bedroom, and it's easy to criticize them and say, like, yeah, see, they didn't put a gas strut up there or something like that. Sure, it would be nice, but they're one of the only manufacturers that even gives you an enclosed door with a magnet holdback in a travel trailer like this. Most builders are doing an open shelf. So I'm not going to knock Cherokee for it. I'm going to commend them for the good that they did. Would I like it to have some sort of gas strut? Yeah, I definitely would. But that is a thing that I could add after the fact that is very easy. Adding an enclosed cabinet door after the fact is not very easy most of the time. So I also appreciate that they, even though it's a pseudo private bedroom, they still gave you that curtain to kind of close that off. Now you might have noticed they also revised their underbed storage with the little cubby pocket design. That really seems like that's catching on real fast all of a sudden here. I like it. It doesn't have struts either. You might have noticed how I used the, what do I want to say? I totally just drew a blank right there. Oh, the jack crank to hold that sucker up. So there you go. Now, I didn't intend to leave these open. When I was recording my cabinet open footage, I must have left them that way. So pardon me for just a second. And there we go. I love the fact, though, you got to see it's a fully enclosed medicine. It's a big medicine cabinet at that, and it actually is mirrored. And, you know, we can nitpick them for not having struts here and there, but that's a little thing. That's a big fan. That's something that even a lot of quote-unquote luxury high-dollar fifth wheels don't do. I'm very happy to see that. Now, that wall right there is blank, and it is just begging for somebody to slap a towel bar against that thing. I will say, you notice how they went with just a straight countertop right here? It doesn't have any sort of cutaway, which is nice because it means that you have extra counter space to work with. But everything that you get, also, you lose in some other area. And in this case, if you notice, I'm a little over 6 foot tall. I'm an American-sized dude. I had a hard time finding elbow room in there. So Sometimes simple and easy and no slides means that something has to give, and in this case, it's the bathroom does not have the greatest elbow room you could imagine out there. Now, the RV is a conventional 6.5 foot tall, no special height or anything in this one. So if you notice when I stand in there, my head's definitely up in that skylight. But for a quick little camping shower, man, I could make do with it. And with this thing having no slides, it's just road mode ready to go. One of the cool things about a layout like this, if you pull into your campsite late at night, you don't even got to unhitch from your vehicle. Get back into your campsite, put the thing in park, and set your brakes, obviously, especially if the parking spot's not flat, and hop in the camper, sleep overnight, wake up in the morning, have your caffeine, then attack the day. Or as my Uncle Gary would say, crap that DM. He was not the strongest reader. Another of the things I really like on these is I think this is an interesting instance in the RV industry where this RV actually has more cargo capacity than I think you could ever throw at it. So if you're looking there, the RV has like over 3,000 pounds of available cargo capacity. Now, one of the reasons I think that's a good thing, it has kind of been my observational experience over the many years of my career. RVs with extra cargo capacity tend to be RVs that, they stay out of the shop a little bit better than some of the other ones because the structure is not getting stressed to the max every time you take the sucker roller quaking down the road, which is the technical term for jiggle banging, which is a little more tongue-in-cheek. Now, I don't know why I've never really shown this before, but in case you're ever curious, these little lens covers, they just twist off and then pop right off. And some people ask, well, how do you replace the bulb? You actually replace the whole light, but it's just a 12-volt thing. It's very simple. If you can plug in a 9-volt battery, you can replace that thing. Now, your solar charge controller is down here in the front compartment for a couple reasons. I know a lot of folks like them on the inside, but I'll tell you why they put them here, and then you can decide whether it's right for you or not. First of all, there's a USB plug off the side, so if you want to plug like a portable Bluetooth speaker out here, you can. The other reason they do that is for service purposes. Something that I've found by talking to our service staff at our Bish's RV locations is when the charge controller is in the front pass-through, it's basically easier to access and to get to all the wiring and do all the things that service technicians need to do. So it's serving a couple different purposes right there. And you may notice this thing is not too terribly long, but no longer than it is. They put pretty much about the best awning coverage on it I think they really reasonably possibly could. Now, a couple details that may not be easy to spot from back here. This does use the newer quick drop stabilizers for a little bit better stabilization so the RV doesn't wiggle around so much. And if you look down between the tires and the steps, you'll see where there's a gas grill cooker hooker located down there. That's where that little white flag is. So if you want to, even if it's a little bit of a drizzly day, if you don't want to heat yourself out of the RV, well, you can do some cooking outside. Even if it's drizzly, you're covered by the awning. Now, they've maintained outside speakers, but I'll give Cherokee credit. For a number of years, they've realized that you need to keep the speakers at your head level or lower, because otherwise the only thing you're doing is blasting freedom rock and blowing the neighbors away. Either that, or if you crank up an Arnold Schwarzenegger shoot-'em-up movie, if you got your whole entertainment system connected, that's not good. Get on Facebook and there's stories of people who forgot their outside speakers were on and watched a variety of entertainment mediums blasting through their outside speakers. I bet that makes for a very interesting conversation over morning coffee with the neighbors the next day. Hopefully you realize sooner than later that's the case. That's reason number 37. I'm not a big fan of outside speakers. You see that antenna sticking up there? That is the LCI Insight backup camera. Get it? Insight? It's in. Oh, I should have stayed in college. Moving on. Anyway, the cargo rack on the back's rated for, I think it's about 200 pounds. I want you to understand, though, that is before the spare tire is applied. So you need to subtract the weight off that. How much does the tire weigh? Well, that's a good question. You would think that someone like me who's a professional should know that by now, but I never claimed to be a professional now, did I? I really need to learn that. Apologies, I don't know that answer offhand. Moving over here. This is so boring and mundane to talk about, but this is the kind of stuff that when you go camping, every single time you're going to use things like the full hot cold outside utility shower, the black tank flush, the little spotlight over here, so when you're doing your sewer boogie at night, you can actually see what you're doing. That is really, really helpful stuff. I don't think a lot of people realize. Now, their water heater is on demand, so basically it only fires up and starts burning propane when you actually open the hot water line, and it, there's no tank. It's just gonna keep the hot water going so you don't end up accidentally taking a cold shower. Oh, one of the other cool things with this, oh, ironically, it's not cool, it's hot, as Paris Hilton would say, tank heaters. These have tank heaters. They're one of the only things in this class that has them. Now, a couple other little details you may have noticed, but I didn't overtly point out. Down here in the little skirt line area, it actually does have a little leash latch in case your uncle gets drunk and you want to make sure he doesn't go wandering off to the neighbor's campsite for the weekend. And you might notice the bracket on the top upper corner of the back wall there. If you want to get a telescopic removable ladder, she is perfectly prepped and ready to be able to accept one of those, because these do have, and have had for a very long time, a walkable roof. When you don't see a ladder, a lot of people still don't realize that could mean walkable roofing, even if there's no ladder. I just wanted to put a little myth busting in there for you. And if you appreciate the information, good, bad, in between, hit that subscribe button. And if you're curious or serious to see how much maybe one of these costs, or where we have one parked so you can come see it yourself, check the links in the description. You'll also see some links to other similar layouts from other brands like Jayco or maybe Springdale or whoever else I can get my hands on. And if you appreciate all the stuff we're doing, oh, no, I already asked you to subscribe, didn't I? Well, that was stupid. That's like telling you the time in London and England, or Dublin and Ireland. This is stupid. I'm stupid. What a way to end a video. I'm not going to edit this out. Garrett, my editor, don't you edit this out either. So take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.